Hello and welcome back. Today we are talking about gathering stories. The last things we were talking about were a bit on these core competencies, how there's these different parts of what someone needs to experience before they can be ready, set, inspired, and stoked to go, right? Once the course begins. And part of what can really help that process is gathering member stories. Sometimes we don't realize how much we know that a prospect doesn't know about how well this works. And one of the ways to bridge that gap where you see their potential, they don't really believe that you can help them get there, is to have other people who also didn't believe that your course, your community works, to help have them tell their own stories. So the first thing that you want to do is go back and actually open up, what are some of these core competencies? What are some of the things that would really help you capture the experience? You'll notice back, I'm just going to bring us back to a worksheet here, and this was the core competencies to prepare for the journey worksheet. And down here, there's a little section on what shared story or testimonial for context would be helpful for when. And so if you filled that out, all you have to do is go back and see what you wrote there, and it's going to be even easier to then basically go through this exercise right now. So the idea is that you can have, again, you are not the hero. Your hero or your heroine is someone who's actually your avatar, right? This is someone who is your prospect. And so even when you're capturing the story of one of your members, now the member is the heroine, right? So it's the prospect and it's also your members. You're making your members into your heroes. And this is something that honestly, when I look back, I was really pathetic at in the beginning because I kept doing what a lot of people do, which is like, I'm the hero because I'm guiding people to their transformation. Oh my gosh, it's so sad, right? But that's honestly, I mean, just being honest, like, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, I was really stuck in that. And more, year by year, I learned that I keep getting out of the way and keep my mentors are my heroes, right? The mentors, my course mentors, people that have come up through programs and have started leading, they're my heroes. The newest person in a group who's had their first win, they're my hero because they overcame some massive obstacle in order to have that transformation that they wanted for a really long time. And by hook or by crook, they couldn't make it happen. And then they get into the course community and something happens and they get it and they have an identity evolution and bam, like they might be honestly 2 weeks into my course member community, our course member community, and there's a story to capture. So I just want to open your eyes that it doesn't have to be your most advanced students. In fact, some of the best stories that you can capture that can help, again, with these core competencies of someone actually getting that they can do this, right? They get the look, feel, the brand. They get, again, if we just kind of go back here, they get some of these key strategic lessons. Someone who didn't know how to invest learned how to invest. Someone who's afraid of groups, like had this experience of like, wow, this group is the most powerful thing in my life. Right? Those are stories that you want to capture. So again, you've got to go back to your core competencies, and there's going to be some around around potential and believing in themselves. There's going to be stories that you want to capture about, I mean, honestly, about tech, someone who's not tech friendly becoming more tech friendly. There's going to be testimonials you want to talk about group and group dynamics and joining a group and all these different competencies that you wrote. There's going to be stories behind it, and your job now is to do that. And there's a little worksheet here, gather stories and testimonials, where you're going to fill in, hey, what's the core competency and who have I seen have a transformation in that? And honestly, the more you just get into brainstorm mode in this, because at first you'll be like, oh, I don't know if I have people, blah, blah, blah. You do. You do have people. And it doesn't have to be someone that necessarily had an annual pass experience with you. It can be someone who has just been working with you and they trust you. And now they're more in their potential. So you could grab, a lot of these stories so you can write these names down, again, sticky notes and there. So once you have an idea of what you want to capture in your stories, and that's really, it really is a great place to start. Then you get to design what experience, right? Like what experience do you want that testimonial to happen in? And there's a number, I'm just going to show you in our sheets too. I have a bunch of text sample. I'm going to show you a little bit in here. There's text sample that I have around, hey, how do you ask someone for a testimonial? So this is under the video part, and I've drafted these emails, and this is for a video one. Can you do me a quick favor? Hey, I'd love to capture your story. There's other for text testimonial. I'm going to really emphasize do video testimonial. You can extract that for text. Some people who will absolutely not give you a video testimonial, might give you a text testimonial or a text story. But the more you can help them realize, and I have it in this here, as a powerful member of our group, I'd like to honor your transformation by sharing your story with our community. As you share your story, you'll also notice it helps you own your transformation and ground your identity evolution. And I don't say that just to say that. Right. It's actually, it's very true. When someone starts to share their story from their A to B transformation and they're standing at B and they're recalling their A, where they've come from, it helps them own that. It helps them identify that. It helps you honor that in their transformation. And we know through behavioral science research, we know that when we acknowledge our own progress, it helps us actually continue to progress. And this is part of group accountability. Right? If you're saying like, hey, I've lost 20 pounds and I know the habits that work, well, guess what? Like you're going to actually be much more likely to keep that weight off. All right. So that's true. And it's good to point that out to your people. Again, you guys, this is just sample text, edit the text, make it work. Let's talk about what happens once you once you get on the call. And what I really recommend using Zoom. I'll put a Zoom link in here. There's free Zoom accounts to start with. The reason I like that is it's really reliable. It has low internet requirements, so people don't have to have a really strong bandwidth in order for you to capture a really decent video. So it's much better than Skype. Skype's bandwidth is horrible. It requires so much more in order to produce good quality. Zoom will automatically save your stuff on the cloud, so if you don't have a lot of space on your computer, great. I do recommend downloading those and then editing them, and that can be a really fast, easy process. I use Camtasia to edit videos. So I'm going to go over, this is from a blog post on 9 types of testimonials, and I'm going to just show you, this is the blog post itself, and there's a link in this that really goes through and unpacks. And I'm not going to go through all of them here, but what I just want to introduce to you is like, check it out. There's a lot of different types of testimonials out there, and start with the ones that are easiest for you to capture. Don't need to do all of these. Some things to start to think about too is like once you have a testimonial video or a story that's really great to share, how and when and where are you going to share that so that it encounters your prospect at the right time in their journey. So if you don't have a website, you can actually upload these into, if we go to Facebook. And I'm just going to show you, this is a closed group I have in Facebook. There's 1,700 members. And you can see here, if I just click on, videos, this is where I can add video. So I can add a video here, and then I can send people to Facebook. So for some of you who don't have a website, this is a really great place to where you want to put those stories. And then in an email, you would put them in there. Now, if anyone has a website, you don't want to use Facebook, right? You want to have people come to your website because that's an environment you can control more. So anyways, it's a great idea to just actually grab these and get them up there in their raw form and then start to use them. And then later you can go back and edit them and refine them. What you'll find in this post is that there's a lot of different ways to use video. And I just want to go over a few of these main ways around quotes, peers, social, influencer, video, success story, interview, long form, and mashup. And I'm going to go back to my pad to do that. All right. So again, you're making your member the hero, and you're also simultaneously making your prospect the hero. So you're trying to help the member make the prospect into the hero by saying like, I didn't think I could do it. You may also not think that you can do this or that this won't work for you, but let me just share how it worked for me. And just language like that will help make the person into being like, oh, wow, okay, this is something that I can really plug into. The easiest videos for you to capture are going to be interview style. And this is where you're asking them questions. And you can give them the questions ahead of time, right? And then you can jump on and record the conversation. Often these types of interview will be in this, there'll be video, testimonials, there'll be long form, if you will. They might even be, I mean, some of these could be honestly 10 to 45 minutes. There's things that you could then extract the audio and send as an audio file because a lot of people like to listen. You can post your audio file on the on Facebook. You can actually email people an MP3 file really easily. So for those of you who don't have a website, it's really easy to do that. For those of you who have a podcast, you can make that whole thing, bring that whole thing onto the podcast. Now, it's nice when you do more of this video long form. This is going to be a interview testimonial. When you do this, it's important that you don't get in the way. And this is true of all of them. Like, while you may have an idea of like, hey, this is the story I want to capture. And I notice this is one of my big learning curves, is I would want the interview to go a certain way. And then it wouldn't, right? Because the person's being them and I can't know what they're going to say ultimately. And what you need to learn to do is what I needed to learn to do too, and probably I'm still learning, is just to really like let go. Like let go and trust that the person being them authentic self is actually going to transmit from a much better place than you would have actually organized. It's going to be much more natural. It's going to be much more organic. And it's very important that you allow that to happen. That like, okay, the story is going to flow out of them in their way. Afterwards, what you can do is you can cut it. So you can take one of these really long form interviews and now you can actually break it into, and I'm just going to show you how in many ways I'm hacking this 9 types of testimonial videos where you can capture one story in this long form interview, and then you can make it into a 2-minute success story video. Just by cutting, pasting, you can do a little bit of when you do the story, you might do the intro. Hey, this is Kat. You're going to see Kathy talk about, now let me tell you about Kathy. She's mother. She's got 4 children. She came into my course and she was struggling with this, and this pain point, pain point, pain point. She's going to tell you what happened. Then you take Kathy's success story and Kathy goes to benefit, benefit, benefit. So again, you are only taking, again, these are only 2 minutes. So you only have a little short window of time to be like, hey, this is who this person is. This is what was going on. Now let her tell you, I'm going to let her tell you exactly what happened. Once you have all this, remember how I said you can extract the audio? You can also transcribe the text. And this is really helpful. When you've got these benefits then, and even when you have, she might go into her pain points as well. So again, you can introduce the pain points. They can talk about their pain points as well more intimately. Because again, if you're going to do this in a long form interview style, you're going to have 10 to 45 minutes. There's a really cool book called Resonance by Nancy Duarte, and she analyzes speeches that worked over time. And one of the most famous speeches she analyzed was Martin Luther King's speech, the I Have a Dream speech. And in this presentation, she mapped out speeches and she actually mapped out symphonies and showed how they have a certain cadence. So the cadence in I Have a Dream, I mean, I'm not going to get this just right, but basically it's the before, 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 like this is how it was before, and then it's the vision of the future. And then it comes down before, 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 vision of the future, before, 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 and then it stays up here before, and so there's a certain cadence, and if in a long interview you can do this where they're really getting into the before, and then I had a breakthrough, and then before, 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 pain point, pain point, pain point. So again, when you're doing this in a long form interview story, you're going to get a lot that you can then go back and edit, and you can extract some of these like pain point benefits and make those into specific short videos. You can transcribe the whole interview. You can have it transcribed. Go to Upwork, hire a transcriber. They can transcribe the entire thing. You can then publish that as an interview blog post. Once you have, and if you don't have a website, the post is then going to live probably on Facebook. Then you would send a link in an email. Hey, read this story. or and watch this video. And you can give them options, different links that will either go to the text version, different version that'll go to the video version. So you're giving, again, your prospect a choice of like how do they want to consume it. There's many people that just like want to scan text because it's much faster than listening. And then there's the listening people. I often suggest, hey, if you want to listen, download this and listen or stream this while you're folding the laundry. I know you've heard me say that before because it's real, because that's how I fold my laundry. So I'm always usually listening to something that I want to digest, that I want to take in. Now, the beauty of them hearing it live from the person is they're going to get much more of this emotional hit. Now, another thing that you can do with these is you can, again, you have transcribed the text, is you can make little memes. So you can have like a little Facebook meme. You can use Canva and you can take a quote. And it might be like, I lost 40 pounds in my annual, in Body Thrive with Kate, right? That would be a quote. And then underneath that, there could be a call to action of, hey, you can talk to me for free. Have a strategy session on your body goals, right? And so when you start to get how there's so much that you can do with one interview and you can break it down into all these different parts, is that going to take time? Yes. I still use testimonials I captured over a decade ago. These things live forever. Like once you have them, there's so much you can do. In fact, someone was asking me about eating disorders the other day and bulimia, and I was recalling a testimonial, a 2-minute testimonial with a Living Ayurveda course member that happened over 5 years ago. I captured it at my house at one of our retreats, and we had a party at my house. And she was talking about how she was in her mid-50s. She'd had this eating disorder since she was about 15 years old. And through the Living Ayurveda course, she was able to get to the depth and uproot the issues. And it was so powerful. I mean, I think we were both crying in the video. But all I have to say is like, that's still, if someone comes to me with, hey, I have bulimia, I can just say like, hey, watch this 2-minute video. It's here. And I might have it published on YouTube. I may have it published on Facebook. I may have a blog post where I might stick it in where I go into how Ayurveda gets to the root of eating disorders, right? And they can go read that and watch that. Now, if you're talking to a prospect and you have a strategy session and you know that they have an eating disorder, wow, right? Or you know they're having food-related issues, it can be so powerful for someone that never thought they'd get to the bottom of it to tell their story. Okay, another type of video I want to highlight, and this is influencer videos. So say, for instance, I'm trying to position myself as someone who knows something. Wouldn't it be great if I actually invited my colleagues to do a video on me? Yep, just on this Kate is who she says she is, kind of a video. So I could ask my friend Dr. Claudia Welch, hey, could we just capture a minute of your experience of me? You can say whatever you want. I wouldn't mind if you mentioned this, right? And with Dr. Claudia, we could use the example of how I brought her more into the online space as an Ayurvedic master, right? And just wanted to expose her work. And I could say, hey, could you talk about this? It's just going to take a minute. And we might then schedule a time. We'd jump on Zoom. I'd hit record. She'd maybe talk for 5 minutes. I'd clip out what I wanted in that to make it a 2 to 3 minute influencer video. So go ahead right now and write down who would you like that would say yes, right? Who really believes in you, who knows your work, who knows you. Who would you like? Who would you like to talk about you as a person or as a professional? And just write down, again, stretch your mind. Write down 10 people. Write down 10 people that you would like to talk about you. And some of them might be people that you know would do it right now, and some of them might be a reach, people who might do this in the future. Maybe someone you could do a favor for, and in return, they would do this for you. We'll talk about reciprocity later. So you can have some reach people, and you should also have some people that you're like, you know your mom would do it. You know you could get your mom to tell a story about you. And as honestly, some of you might be thinking like, my prospects don't want to hear what my mom has to say, but you'd be surprised. You'd actually be surprised. It'd be really fascinating. It'd be a really fascinating story to capture, right? You might want one of your teachers to talk about you. You might want some of your colleagues to talk about you. And you could even do this, say you have a mastermind group. So you're in a mastermind group, and there's a few people in there that really have seen you grow and transform, and also really know your zone of genius, really can see like where your light shines, and you want them to capture that, so that your prospects maybe have more of an idea that you too are on a growth path, and that your prospects know like, wow, even you're on a growth path, and look how far, like look who you are in the eyes of your colleagues. So again, you're just going to jot down, and then what you're going to find is that a few of them are really good, and you could just do these right away. Again, once you have that, you're going to go, and this is a good, again, a good format of before, after, and it's a good idea to do these as these really long, a 10 to 45-minute story. And for some of you, like that's going to be way too long. 20 minutes is going to be fine. And to then break it down into some different components of like, hey, this is a peer testimonial. So-and-so is going to talk about this particular aspect of what you can expect from working with me. And it's 1 minute and blah, 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 right? Then you can pull out some of, again, you're going to say like, I know where this is going. I'm going to pull out a quote. Oh, I'm going to extract an audio from the longer one. I'm going to transcribe the text. I'm going to highlight these pain point before, after. And honestly, these are they're so good for your self-esteem. And that's important so that you can stand in your own light and you can allow potential members to connect with the powerful person that you've become, the powerful person that you are, the powerful person that your colleagues, your mentors, your teachers see you as. There's also other members in your community that are really outside of your industry. They might not be in healthcare or wellness at all, but they might be great influencers who have a certain amount of clout. And they don't necessarily have to have clout with your prospects, but they just need to have clout in themselves. They actually transmit their power of their position and their ability to influence. And those can be great people to capture as well. So for instance, one of my business coaches could say things about me as a wellness pro. He could say, wow, whenever I see, and I hear this a lot actually from a few people are jumping into my mind that I could write down on this list, right? And a few people come to my mind because when I go to these business events with them, they say like, oh my gosh, you're always so much even healthier than I saw it the last time, even though you were already like super healthy the last time. But like, wow, to me, I want to just be around you because I see that you are continuing to evolve, right? So that would be a great thing. And then it could be so-and-so, president of da-da-da-da, right? And that, again, because the person owns their own power, that testimonial could come through and really ground a prospect of like, wow, other people, even outside of wellness, respect this person. I'm thinking about joining their annual pass. They expect her, they respect her as a leader. All right, so that's your work is to really start to get clear on the stories that you're going to gather next, to review these different types of testimonials. So you really get the hang of like, okay, I just need to capture one long story and then I can do so many different things with it. And for you to get really clear on the core competencies that you want to help your prospects learn via story.